I would just like to give a special thank you to Steve Good. This is going to be another one of his patterns. I absolutely love the patterns he makes. Well, not all of them, but most of them. Anyway, I have been using Baltic birch plywood or plywood of any kind for all my projects. And I started rummaging through wood that I have in storage. And I found this piece of hardwood, and I decided to make this particular project with it. It met the criteria, 3/4 inches thick, and the patterns fit. So I wanted to take this opportunity on this particular project to utilize a subscriber's tips that he gave me on my last video, or the video before, I'm not sure which, sorry. He first suggested that I put the air nozzle up high by the upper arm, pointing down obviously, so it's not in my way. I was pretty, yeah, I'm like, well, that makes sense. I didn't think my nozzle had enough air pressure to work at that height, but it worked beautifully. It was not in my way. I was able to do everything without moving it and getting it, you know, it was just, I was fighting that a lot when I was cutting. The other thing he suggested was to use the size blade for the turns that I'm going to be making. If they're tight turns, you want to use a smaller blade, similar to what a bandsaw would be. Not to rely on what the thickness of the wood is versus the type of cuts I wanted to make. Now, everything I've learned via YouTube was, you know, certain blades are for certain thicknesses of wood. And so that's what I had been doing. And I was not able to do a free-flowing cut with the turns in order to make a complete cut without cutting little pieces off here and there so I could get the type of cut I needed or get around a curve, etc. So I was determined on this project to not cut off anything, to follow through on the entire cut that I was doing without breaking away and taking out a piece and then doing more pieces. And the reason to do that, especially on the thinner plywood, is because if it's one complete piece and you leave it in, the problems I was having with the blowout of the delicate cuts was because there was nothing there holding it in. Those pieces help hold that in so that I can continue cutting. So I kind of get that, but I was still concerned about using a smaller blade on the thicker piece of wood. Now, I honestly have no idea what kind of wood this is. It was extremely heavy for a 8-inch by, I don't know, 11-inch piece. It was pretty heavy, but I just went with it. On part of this project, I took the pieces that I cut out and I had to put them back in, because that was the whole point, is to have that support when I'm cutting. It didn't matter so much on this, but I needed to practice doing that. So these tips that he gave me were spot on for me. Now I have to continue utilizing the blades in the manner that he suggested to make sure that I'm comfortable with it. But this was really the very first time that I made all these turns and everything I did on this project flawlessly. Well, almost. Don't tell anybody it wasn't, you know. Anywho, but with no stress at my end, it just went well. Now, the only issue I really did have with this cut was these straight lines. And that's because it was a thinner blade, and I was not allowing the blade to do the cutting like I normally do. So I had an angle on some of the straight cuts, but it was nothing that I couldn't fix after the project was done. And I did, and it looks fine. But I have to say, I appreciate those that watch this. I appreciate very much that you're giving me feedback, because that's the only way I'm going to learn. Thank you for watching my video. Hope to see you next week. Have a blessed day.